Hello and welcome to PRSay. This is the podcast for the Houston chapter of the Public Relations Society of America. I'm your host, Veronica Sopher of Veronica v. Sopher Public Relations, and I'm thrilled to be here because we get to introduce you to some fantastic members of our Houston chapter of PRSA. And this really is an opportunity for you to connect with them, to learn more about them. If you're not able to attend any of our in-person events, this is where you can catch up with everyone and find out a little bit more about them, but more importantly, how to connect with them so that when you do see them in person, we are building authentic relationships within our chapter. And I'm just so excited about our guest. I'm going to go ahead and bring her up. Our president, Felicia Perez. She's our 2022 president of the PRSA Houston chapter. So glad to have you on the show.
So glad to be here. And just you can say Perez, that's fine too.
Okay. Well, you never know. I get a little excited and then the R's start rolling.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like, they see my name, they're like Felicia Perez. And I'm like, no, you say no, Felicia Perez. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
It's the Americanized. Yeah.
So that's great. I love it. So Felicia, you are our president of our chapter, and I know you value networking and you value the chapter so much, but I want people to get to know you a little bit better. So tell us kind of where from the beginning, how you got started in media relations and PR.
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being the host here. You just do an incredible job with your company as well. And as far as how I got started in this business, gosh, I started in broadcast journalism, so it's all communications related, right? From PR to journalism, but broadcast journalism I started, just right out the gate, teleprompter operator and, studio camera person and like all the behind the scenes things. And I had a lot of fun with that. And got into news producing and reporting. I found out real quick I did not want to be a reporter. And there's all this glamorous ideas of being a reporter whenever you're, an undergrad and you're like, oh, I want to be a reporter and be out there, telling stories. And I found out that, of all the things like, being out there in the freezing cold temperature during an ice storm to knocking on a sex offender's door, you just didn't want to be out there. It wasn't for me. So I got into news producing and I loved that area of storytelling as well. Was able to, like share all different sorts of stories with, the community and really holding like public officials accountable and that kind of thing. I loved that part of it. Did it for 15 years from Arkansas to Houston, worked at ABC 13, worked at KHOU, and loved the teams there. They are just incredible news organizations to work for. And so I decided, though, I wanted a different kind of storytelling. So I got my master's at the University of Houston, go Cougs, and started practicing PR after that. And now I have my own company, FAR Public Relations.
Yes.
And I just started it last year. And like so many people, especially during the pandemic, start to reevaluate where you are and what you want to do and where your future's headed. And I just had a baby last year, got to put that little plug in there. So a lot of that reevaluation, and I decided to go for my own company, like so many other people who are in PRSA.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love it. And I love your story because you've really had literal hands-on experience on the other side. We're here trying to drive the narrative. We're here making pitches. Yeah. And sometimes what we learn in the classroom doesn't always translate to what is appealing in the newsroom. And you bring that skill. So kind of give us a couple of tips on some of the things that you've learned.
Yeah, I bring it back to one of my friends who's over at Telemundo, Danny Hermosillo. He's fantastic. He's an assignments manager there. He came to me the other day and he said, you got to tell the people at PRSA about this. We can't have this kind of thing coming into our newsroom. We have 1,000 emails a day. We don't have the time for this. And so what happened? Somebody from a local PR, agency, or maybe it was just someone from in-house. They sent a press release over, and it was an event that was going on that they were actually really interested in covering. The problem is they had to go digging through the press release to find the information on where it was being held, when it was happening, the date is so important because you're looking at things, you're putting things on the assignments calendar, and so you can take a look at the details later. But a lot of times when something comes in that has a headline that you're interested in, you copy paste, put it into the assignments book. And so he was like, I had to find for like seriously look through the 2 pages of a press release to
Oh
try
my
to find
gosh.
when this was happening. So I think the biggest thing to take away from that is be really cognizant and respectful of the time it takes. And sometimes it's not about the most creative pitches. It's really about, looking at why this matters
Hmm.
and then making it really accessible
Hmm.
so they can find out like the top stuff, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and then you can go into the more detail if they're interested in covering it.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And sometimes the basics we forget. We forget what the basics are because we get really excited. But I love that tip. So when you are networking with members, how do you entice them into really getting involved in PRSA?
You know, it's this organization has done so much for me, and that's the reason why I decided to give back as and be the president of the organization too, because I want to continue this tradition of supporting future PR professionals, especially in Houston. It's a
Hmm.
great national organization, but here locally in Houston, we have such a great group of the last time I checked, around 350 members. So it's great to build connections from people who are just starting out in the field all the way to being in here for 40 years and they have so much to offer to give back to the young professionals.
Hmm.
Um, the biggest thing I'd say is that, PRSA Houston, we really are just your local career connection.
Yeah.
And we're the world's largest and most prestigious or association of PR professionals. So if you're looking to connect with other PR professionals, looking at what's trending, what are best practices, what's to avoid, what not to do, that kind of thing. This is really the best place for that. So whether you're a student, you're mid-career professional or seasoned veteran of it, it really serves as that gateway to career development opportunities.
Yeah.
And
And
so, yeah, go ahead.
you touched on students. We have opportunities to support our young professionals and students coming up. Share with us a little bit about that because that's really exciting for those of us who want to give back and who now
Mhm.
are in a position to give back. How do I get more involved in our Houston chapter in that space?
We have a lot of mentorship opportunities, and we really encourage even some of the graduating students, who are about to enter the career field, to get involved from PRSA to PRSA.
Hmm.
So we can connect you with people who've been here for a while. We're actually building a very robust mentorship program here. We do offer scholarships for students, and we're hoping in hopes that they come in and they start applying that knowledge in PR, joining us here, and then working toward their APR when they get seasoned into the field. And so when it comes to the mentorship, we have our mentorship events that happens every single year in November. And that's the Meet the Mentors program. It used
Yep.
to be called Sages and Seekers. A lot of us know. And so we have an entire team, 20 all just about 20 different board members here in PRSA, all of them dedicated to making sure that that we're engaging with the members, we're making the best in this PR profession here.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. That's great. And I know we have just another couple of minutes, but I wanted to ask you, I wanted to actually tie in these two conversations together about media relations and your experience in the newsroom and then the PRSA connection. How are you finding that now that you've transitioned and opened up your own firm, how is the organization helping you to leverage your network? Because you've
Mhm.
been investing in the PRSA network. How is it helping you?
Every single event that I go to, every single person that I meet, is just building relationships here. If it's about helping each other become more successful, it's not about competition.
Mhm.
So it's really about getting those shared practices, things that make us better, the ethical considerations to all the way for gosh, just networking and social media to like
Right.
all of these different aspects. We're building programming here to make sure that, you know, whenever we do go to the events, you also take something home, take something that you can really apply today.
Right.
And then the people that you meet, you know, each we just had a happy hour in January, and you know, being able to talk about people and their businesses, they're moving, they're shaking, they're going to different places, and it's really exciting. And being that like that support for them, but also if somebody's looking for a job, being like,
Right.
you know what, like let me keep that in mind, and then you think about, you know, the different connections you're having there, and just, you know, building up those relationships between each other. And again, it really is, it's not about competition, it's about support.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about our chapter. Felicia, we are running out of time, but I just want to thank you for your service and for your vision for this podcast in particular, because I think with COVID and some of the other things we've got going on, not everyone can make it to in person events. And this is a great way to spotlight our members. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say, lastly, you know, we have so many great events happening this year. And I really encourage you to connect with me, connect with other members here. Come on out. We would love to have you. You know, it's in any of the events that we have a monthly luncheon, or even a monthly webinar every single month. And we also have in-person happy hours and media mixers. We have Excalibur Awards coming up. We also have PR Day, a lot of exciting things to get involved here. And we would love for you know, to welcome all communications professionals to get involved and start mingling around here.
Ditto. Absolutely. Well, I look forward to seeing you at our next event for sure.
All right, me too. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, everyone. That is going to wrap up this episode of PRSay, the podcast for the Houston chapter of the Public Relations Society of America. Again, I'm your host, Veronica Sopher. I look forward to connecting with you either in an in-person event or digitally. Now, if you're listening to the podcast on one of our podcast platforms, make sure you hit subscribe. And if you're watching our video on one of our social media platforms, let us know that you're watching by putting in hashtag replay so that we can connect, because that's what it's all about. Until next time, thanks.